President al-Assad assures Mr. al-Ibrahimi of Syria's keenness to advance any efforts in the interests of the Syrian people and the sovereignty of their homeland. And the Russian foreign minister says that the future of Syria is in the hands of its people and not in the hands of foreign powers. And a report from Damascus about Saint Hananiah's church and the story of the saint.
Good afternoon, this is News in English. President Bashar al-Assad received the UN envoy to Syria, al-Ibrahimi, and the accompanying delegation this morning. They held cordial talks in which President Assad stressed Syria's keenness to advance any efforts leading to preserving the interests of Syria and its sovereignty. President Assad explained to the UN envoy the latest developments in Syria. On his part, al-Ibrahimi showed President Assad the results of communications and discussions he made lately to solve the Syrian crisis. The talks dealt with the cooperation between the Syrian government and the UN envoy, during which President Assad stressed the Syrian government's keenness to ensure the success of any efforts in the interest of the Syrian people that save the country's sovereignty and independence. In a statement to journalists after the meeting with President Assad, al-Ibrahimi said, "The talks dealt with the problems from which Syria is suffering, as we exchange opinions concerning the steps that should be taken." Al-Ibrahimi said that he briefed President al-Assad about the meetings he had with different officials from inside and outside the area, showing the steps he sees as possible to help the Syrian people overcome the crisis. Al-Ibrahimi stressed that the rumors that have been said about the delay of President Assad's to accept to meet with him during the past visits, and he asked the Russians to mediate for him to meet the president or he will resign, were completely untrue. Al-Ibrahimi described the situation in Syria as serious, expressing his hope that all sides tend to the solution that the Syrian people look for. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov asserted that those who criticize the UN Security Council, claiming its inability to deal with the crisis in Syria, originally wanted to issue a resolution based on Chapter 7 in order to impose more sanctions and use force against Syria. In an interview with the TV channel Russia Today, he asserted that both Russia and China rejected such a trend, which would be catastrophic and leading to dangerous results. Mr. Lavrov pointed out that some parties were trying to internationalize and expand violence beyond the Syrian borders. The armed opposition was provoking the Syrian government and trying to turn the conflict into a dangerous sectarian crisis. He warned against spreading chaos in Syria because it would spill into the whole region. He asserted that Russia's priority is to stop violence and bloodshed. Those who would like to save Syria should join us in calling for an end for the fighting and start an unconditional dialogue, leaving the destiny of Syria in the hands of its people away from any foreign powers. He pointed out that Russia supported the Geneva communique, which would create proper conditions for enabling the Syrian parties to negotiate the future of their country without any foreign intervention and after stopping violence. He asserted that the West did not respect the Geneva Agreement. In our local news, a terrorist group attacked the town of Hilfaya in Hama countryside and massacred a number of women and children. The terrorists photographed the massacre in order to attribute it to the Syrian army. The people of Hilfaya said the terrorists also attacked public and government buildings, including the dispensary and the municipality building. The people appealed to the armed forces. A unit was sent to repulse these crimes. Several terrorists were killed and wounded. In Daraya and Damascus countryside, a Syrian Arab army unit clashed with terrorists and killed several of them, including Khalid Herkel, Talal Abu Sara, Abdul Imam Muhammad Kokash, Omar Talib and Zuhair Othman. A unit of our armed forces chased other terrorist groups in Aqraba and Beit Saham. They killed a number of them, including one of their leaders called Sami Shamashmi. In Duma and Halasta fields, another unit of our armed forces killed several terrorists and destroyed their equipment.
In Aleppo and its countryside, a Syrian army unit attacked the terrorists in the area of Rasm al-Aboud and destroyed 6 cars carrying terrorists and large amounts of ammunition. The hideouts of terrorists in several other villages were stormed and destroyed. In the city of Aleppo, units of our armed forces attacked terrorist hideouts in several quarters and killed and wounded several of them, destroying their equipment. 2 terrorist groups fought while dividing stolen goods, killing the terrorist Khalid, also known as Siraj, who led a terrorist group calling itself Beni Zaid. Every day a videotape shows terrorists coming to Syria from the end of the world. This video showed extremists coming from Sweden and calling for jihad in Syria. They follow the fatwas of petrol-dores sheikhs, agents of the US and Israel. The mercenaries from Sweden called upon other Muslims in Scandinavia to join them in the so-called jihad.
Mina älskade bröder och dyrbara systrar, lyssna på detta meddelande. Ett meddelande som skär i hjärtat och tynger brösten. Mina bröder.
These mercenaries, however, weren't told that their destiny in Syria would be darker than the Black Night. They would never meet mates in heaven, but they would be crushed on this noble land. The suspicious clerics gave them fatwas to plunder the houses of the Syrian people. They are supported by some Gulf regimes like Qatar and Saudi Arabia, which lack any democratic institution. Saudi Arabia is the only place in the world which prevents women from driving cars.
Hanania Church is a religious and historical place in the old city of Damascus. It is the house of Apostle Ananias, who baptized St. Paul in Damascus at the early stages of Christianity.
Hanania is the first bishop of Damascus, and he is a biblical figure of the apostolic age. He was the priest who baptized St. Paul in the church that carried his name, Hanania Church.
After the resurrection of Jesus Christ, priest Hanania came to Damascus, and he was the first Christian bishop in Damascus. He was worried about the Christians from the persecution of Saul, who was converted later into Christianity after receiving a vision of the Lord. Thus, Bishop Hanania baptized Saul, who was called Saint Paul.
Hanania Church is located at the east side of Old Damascus. It was known throughout the ages as the Holy Cross Church at the 5th century. At present, the house of Hanania is a crypt with 2 rooms, one of which is a chapel reached by means of basaltic steps. The place is a destination for visitors from different parts of the world who come to pray, lit a candle, and worship at the house of martyr Saint Hanania.
And from the church we end our news for today. You can look up more details on our website www.syriaonline.sy. Stay with us after the break. Nariman has the latest in economy and finance.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Prime Minister Wael Halaqi reviewed with the representative of FAO, Abdullah Tahir Ben Yahya, cooperation relations between Syria and FAO at the level of exchanging expertise. Mr. Al-Halaqi referred to the role of the UN Food and Agriculture Organization in carrying out many development projects and in providing humanitarian assistance during the current crisis in Syria. For his part, Ben Yahya pointed out to the support provided by the Syrian government to FAO, which helped carrying out its mission, emphasizing on the importance of the natural resources in Syria, which allows achieving self-sufficiency and food security for its people, as well as exporting the surplus for the products to foreign markets. The Syrian Society of Sustainable Tourism embraced talented young women from the countryside and enabled them to make attractive artifacts and handicrafts in the village of El-Mazze in Tartus. In order to provide the material and the moral support for the rural girls, the Syrian Society of Sustainable Tourism set up a handicraft workshop in Khirbet El-Mazze village, included a number of girls in the fields of drawing, embroidery, sewing and crafts, noting that the contributing girls have licenses in addition to the experiences they will get from such workshop. Since the beginning of the distribution process, the general establishment of Idlib branch distributed over 2,200 tons of wheat seeds and 850 tons of barley seeds. The manager of the branch, Engineer Waddah Diab, pointed out that the distribution process was under the ID card for the 500 kilograms and under the agricultural licenses if the funding was for more than 500 kilograms of wheat seeds, noting that the cultivated land area with wheat doesn't exceed 10,000 hectares and 20,000 hectares of barley due to the last rainfalls which hampered the implementation. The general establishment said that it is ready to withdraw the required amounts from the fuel companies and the bakeries to distribute it on the citizens. The manager of the establishment in Damascus branch emphasized that the establishment is working on getting the formal confirmation from the mentioned companies to distribute bread and diesel on the consumers. The manager also mentioned that 120 outlets spread in all the neighborhoods of Damascus to distribute the consumables, adding that there are cars which belong to the establishment and distribute bread on the citizens in order to ease the pressure from the backup bakeries. Crude oil prices declined during the Asian trading hours as concerns about the fiscal cliff negotiations continued to weigh on the statement, as the Brent crude oil futures for the February delivery fell 0.27% on 29 cents per barrel on the ICE futures exchange in London. European stocks were little changed as volume tumbled before Christmas holiday. The Asian shares were also little changed. On the other hand, the U.S. stock futures declined amid growing speculations that the U.S. lawmakers may miss a year-end budget deadline. The Jewelleries Association set the price of the 21 karat gold at 4,550 Syrian pounds per gram and the 18 karat gold at 3,900 Syrian pounds per gram in the local market, whereas the golden coin was set at 34,500 Syrian pounds, while the English coin of 21 karat was set at 36,800 Syrian pounds, and the 22 karat gold was set at 38,500 Syrian pounds per gram. The Japanese yen declined against the US dollar after the incoming Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said that he will not consider changing the law governing the central bank unless it boosts its inflation target next month. The Japanese currency fell against all but one of its major counterparts on speculations that the Bank of Japan may need to step up the currency measures to reach the inflation goal. The US dollar also weakened against the euro after raising 0.4% on December 21st amid concerns that the US lawmakers may fail to avert the fiscal cliff of tax increases and spending cuts. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our economic news for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.